Every car that arrives at the gate where I was located was being stopped by officers at gunpoint. Everyone is being forced out of their vehicles as they arrive at the Pentagon. It's a very tense situation, obviously, but initial reports from witnesses indicate that there was, in fact, a helicopter circling the building, contrary to what the AP reported, according to the witnesses I've spoken to anyway, and that this helicopter disappeared behind the building and that there was then an explosion.
But that's it here. As you can see the smoke, and you can see, paper flying about. Yes, Carol.
Sam, a question for you. We understand that there is a tail section of a plane sticking out of the Pentagon, and a plane did hit the Pentagon. Is that true?
Well, at this point, Carol, we are at National Airport, so all we can really see is the flame.
And it looks to me, and I'll confess I don't have the greatest monitor here, that you could almost see the nose of that plane coming through the other side of the building.
We're walking the dogs and we saw a plane flying really low, a small jet, and it flew directly into the World Trade Center, and then all the pieces fell to the bottom in seconds. And launched a missile attack against the camps of Osama bin Laden, who they felt confident at that time they could say was responsible for it, and who's since been charged in it. In this case, I think this ratchets up.
Excuse me. This is the Pentagon we're looking at now, according to my monitor. And again, it is hard to grasp what part of the building. We do not know if they're in the courtyard or outside, but you can see that a fairly considerable amount of damage has been done. We do not know whether these are offices or storage areas. The Pentagon is full of many thousands of people every day. The Secretary of Defense Donald Rumsfeld has been saying only yesterday and today that he wants to reduce the bloatedness, as he put it, as he alluded to it in the military and the bureaucracy. But this is the great home of the military bureaucratic establishment.
About 10 minutes ago, there was a white jet circling overhead. Now, you generally don't see planes in the area over the White House. That is restricted airspace. No reason to believe that this jet was there for any nefarious purposes, but the Secret Service was very concerned, pointing up at the jet in the sky.
Just for those of you joining us, wondering if you're watching an unreal scene or a film, this is actually reality.
Again, the initial report we got from our colleague Denny Bly is that 15 people have been hurt. Somewhere buried in that rubble is a jet. There have been conflicting reports whether it's a large commercial jet or a private jet.
And to conduct a full-scale investigation.
I have no idea, Katie. All I know is that people who were in the building who came running from that part of the building thought it was a bomb of some kind.
At the Pentagon, a plane or a helicopter has crashed, apparently as part of whatever this operation has been, and Jamie McIntyre is there. Jamie, what are you hearing?
Well, Aaron, there is a lot of confusion here at the Pentagon. It appears that something hit the Pentagon on the outside of the 5th corridor, on the Army corridor. Several Army officers I talked to reported hearing a big explosion, seeing shards of metal coming past their window.
If the terrorists who are responsible for this horrible act are now watching these very same pictures that we are.
Well, I have a feeling they are. Brian Wilson, our Washington correspondent, is on Capitol Hill. Brian, what can you tell us?
Well, I can tell you that there was no increased security around the Capitol as I made my way into the building, but in the last few minutes we have seen a great deal of action around the city. There is smoke just across the river from the White House, not that far. And as you know, in the last few minutes there are reports that the Pentagon has been evacuated and the White House is being evacuated. Clearly, you're seeing now these pictures from Washington, D.C. as we try to determine exactly what has happened there, but there was an early report of a plane perhaps going down in that area.
We've just heard from Stephen that part of the Pentagon, that above ground, was demolished, has been demolished, has collapsed.
But we did have some eyewitness reports of people on the ground from the spray of jet fuel on fire on the ground.
The reason I said that it was so surreal was that within just about 20 minutes ago, they were still conducting tours. You had hordes of tourists and others still in the White House on tour, lining up outside to get in.
Joining us from New York is the BBC's Greg Barrow. Greg, what's the latest information you have?
Well, not much to add, only that we're witnessing the collapse of those two World Trade Center towers that were hit this morning, and huge amounts of smoke and debris billowing out from the bottom of those buildings, spreading down the streets 2 or 3 blocks around that area. So a whole area, several hundred meters in circumference, has now been affected by this explosion. And one can only imagine the scenes at the bottom there when this happened.
I was on 36, so it wasn't too terrible. When I got down to, the 15th or 12th floor or so, there was water coming in from the doors, kind of at our feet level. And then it just was a waterfall down, continually down all of the stairs, probably, in some cases 3-4 inches deep.
How many people do you think were in the building on the floors that were affected? What do you think?
I mean, I'm one office out of 20 on that floor, so I have no idea.
How far above you or below you was the impact?
I think it was above us. I don't know how many floors. We saw it on TV, but I don't know.
I cannot tell you where that happens. That's either U.S. Air Force or Navy aircraft, fighter aircraft, now on patrol in what we've described as the no-fly zone over New York City today, lest there be one more attempt. John, go ahead.
They've continued evacuations in the area now. They're evacuating Battery Park City, which is a large apartment complex taking up many blocks across the street from the World Trade Center.
I hate to keep saying it because we have seen these types of things play out in movies.
Another question that they have to look at here is whether any of these planes might have been laced with explosives to cause the additional collateral damage once the impact occurred.
They were not designed, perhaps, to take a direct strike from something the size of a 737 or perhaps an Airbus, perhaps fully loaded with fuel. Steel will melt.